Yo, so guys, welcome back to another video. This is another reaction to, I say another reaction, this is a reaction to Vox. I've reacted to them before, and they've got that guy who's like their sub, he like does videos for them, but he also has his own channel, Johnny Harris. And I like his videos a lot, and I do enjoy Vox a lot, but a lot of people have said how a lot of their videos are quite biased or one-sided to certain sort of political views. So I've sort of chose to not react to them as much, but this popped up, and I did have a lot of suggestions about what's going on in Texas. I still don't fully know. Is it like to do with like wind, like winds? I don't know what is it, like cold winds, Arctic winds, or something like that. I saw her, she mentioned it here, but I did also see it like in like all over my Twitter feed, and like a lot of comments mentioned it, saying what went on there. I think it was a few weeks ago. I can't fully remember, but a few weeks ago was crazy. But yeah, the video is Texas power disaster. Texas's power disaster is a warning sign for the US. Again, I'm guessing this is This is sort of like the what happened after like the winds, etc. What actually happened, and yeah, I mean, I guess it's a big thing going on there. I don't fully know, but I've had a lot of suggestions. There was no specific video suggested, so I just sort of picked this one because it's Vox, and yeah, I mean, I know the channel, and I feel like it will be quite an interesting one to see. But yeah, if this isn't the best one, maybe comment down below what ones you want to see in future. But let's get into this one. Quick shout out to my Instagram and my Twitter, links in the description for those. Same for my Patreon, links all there. But yeah, man, let's get into this one. Let's see what's going on in Texas, man. I'm interested because it seems chaotic to say the least, but we're gonna see, right?
In mid-February, cold Arctic air, usually contained up north in the Earth's jet stream, dipped down into the US. It's called a polar vortex, and it's pretty common. It's what brings the coldest air to the US during the winter. What was unusual is for it to dip as far south as it did. In Texas, where February is typically fairly warm, temperatures dipped dangerously low.
Oh my god. Minus 16 degrees Celsius in Texas? I knew Texas got cold. Like quite cold. But this minus I mean, in the UK, I think the lowest it gets is like the lowest it's been since like in this winter, probably like -2 or 3. And that's cold. I don't think I've ever experienced temperatures this cold, man. I can't even imagine. But in Texas as well. Like you'd expect this in like other states, but not
And it came with a storm. More than 4 million Texans lost power. Many wouldn't get it back for nearly 5 days. By then, pipes had frozen. People were melting snow for drinking water, and dozens had died from the cold in their cars and in their homes. And it was almost even worse. The state's entire electrical grid was within seconds and minutes of a failure that would have lasted months. But even though the storm hit this huge area, it was really just Texas that had major loss of power. There's a reason for that, and it should be a warning sign for the rest of the US.
So, I mean, I knew what was going on in Texas was bad, but to this degree, I think I saw a video of like a kid. It was like a video on Twitter. Like, was it a kid? Was it a mum who died? No, a kid who died, like protecting his daughter, or like keeping not his daughter. A kid kept his little sister warm or something like that, and he ended up dying. And I think she did as well. But that's just the horrors of what it could be, man. When you hear stories like that, it really shows how bad it actually is. Like I've lived without heating until I moved here. I lived without proper working heating for like 3 years. But luckily where I'm from, it doesn't get that cold. Obviously, it still gets cold, -degrees sometimes, and it hurt. It's not nice, but -16, bro.
When you flip your lights on, you're getting your electricity from the power grid, and that grid is getting the electricity from a bunch of different energy systems, like nuclear power plants, or wind farms, or natural gas facilities. In the US, these places are generally run by private energy companies that work with your local power utility, which directs the electricity around the grid and into your home. That power utility is overseen by a government commission who sets things like prices and safety standards. And the grids most Americans are on aren't just big, they're huge. The entire East Coast, from Canada to Florida, is on one grid, and the entire West Coast is connected in another.
Wait, what? Wait, let me just see. How many grids are there in the UK? Maybe this is just something I don't really know about. How many grids are there in the UK. I don't really know if that's the best way to search it. Maybe it's just one and it's not actually that astonishing, but when you think about the size...
It's kind of a remarkable engineering feat. It's probably the biggest machine humans have ever built.
While most power tends to stay local, this grid allows electricity to flow over huge areas and between states. Like in New York City, power comes from energy plants in New York, but also from neighboring states and even Canada.
Jeez.
This huge grid also means in emergencies, power can be directed where it's needed. Like in Oklahoma, which was also hit bad during the February winter storm. They needed more power, and instead of completely losing it, they were able to get electricity from neighboring states through the grid. But it's not so seamless to send it to Texas. Texas opted out of the big grids, back when they were being built nearly 100 years ago.
What?
Since they covered several states, it meant the federal government could regulate them. Texas was not into that.
Texas decided to kind of go it alone. It's a very uniquely Texas type thing to do, right?
So most of Texas is on its own grid. It means they don't have to follow the same regulations as the rest of the country, like reliability and cost standards. But it also means when it lost power in the storm, it couldn't easily get electricity from other states.
Oh, I see.
Its independence kept it in the dark. But it wasn't the reason it went dark in the first place. Being on its own, Texas has to make all their own power. They have a variety of sources. When the storm came, it affected every one. Several coal plants stopped operating as coal piles froze. One of 4 Texan nuclear plants went offline. Some wind turbines stopped working in the freezing cold.
But the biggest failure in terms of its magnitude and its impact was the natural gas system.
Natural gas, which actually contains water vapor, froze in storage wells and pipelines. Every one of these systems failed, in part, and it had nothing to do with the type of energy and everything to do with these companies not being prepared for the cold.
Clearly, you can run an energy system in cold temperatures. There are wind turbines operating in Antarctica and gas plants in Alaska and Alberta. So this is not a technology-specific issue. It was more a failure to anticipate that this is something that could even occur in Texas at this, length and severity, and to prepare for extreme cold temperatures.
But it should have been anticipated, because this has happened in Texas before. In 1989, the same kind of Arctic storm caused natural gas plants to have the same problems, resulting in rolling blackouts. And the same thing again in 2011. And both times, federal commissions recommended utilities ensure reliability in extreme weather conditions, and specifically for the state government to create winterization standards for these energy sources. The Texas Utility Commission did make those standards, but also made them voluntary, so most companies didn't winterize. Private companies like these don't have an incentive to spend their money preparing for unpredictable and infrequent events without being required to. But this problem is not limited to Texas.
The particular vulnerability to the extreme cold may be a uniquely or, extremely Texas thing. I think what it shows is you need to check your blind spots, right? And that applies everywhere.
This is a chart of the last 40 years of severe weather disasters in the US.
I mean, it's just getting more and more flipping hell. I guess it also means it's because, prices are going up for things, but still. Why is it, going up so much? Is it, are structures being built, in a sort of cheaper way so they're not as sort of sturdy? Or is it because of, inflation and stuff? I assume it's because of inflation, because prices of everything just goes up, but still. You look at this and it's kind of ridiculous, to say the least. Also, another thing I wanted to know, what was the question? I was thinking of something to say. What was it? I can't remember. I'm going to hopefully remember at the end of the video.
Storms in particular are in orange. Here is the Texas winter storm in 1989 and the one in 2011. These costly disasters are becoming more frequent, not just in Texas, but nationally and globally. And the US is not prepared. Most of this grid was built 60 to 70 years ago, but was only built to last 50 years. And some studies point to nearly 100 facilities, like power plants, in immediate danger of flooding and storm surges. Most of these private energy companies across the US aren't going to change unless they're required to. But these utility commissions can require it, as can state governments and the federal government. All three can even help pay for it. Texas was warned for 30 years to prepare its energy systems for severe weather and climate change, but they didn't. Now, the rest of the US is facing the same problem.
It is a wake-up call for everywhere to think about how do we prepare our energy infrastructures and our other critical infrastructure for extreme events that may become more severe and may become more likely. And that isn't about just thinking about what's probable, but also what can break the system in a way that's catastrophic.
And that's the thing of nature and weather in itself. It could be so unpredictable. Next year there could be like an even worse sort of scenario that happens. I really want to know what the question I was wanting to say was. I can't remember what I was wanting to say. I was going to pause the video, but I just didn't want to pause it again. I just thought I paused it quite a lot. The United States needs a whole lot more than just a revamped electrical grid. Our infrastructure is falling apart all over the place. Dams, levees, ports, bridges, roads, schools. God, no. Is it really that bad? Watch in 10 years, we're going to talk about the same thing. People who can actually make a change, press sneeze. Yes, the polar vortex in the North Pole is more likely to release cold air to the south in the future due to stability ruptures caused by climate change. The Arctic climate is changing faster and to a larger extent than the RAR. And with it, it's a very delicate ecosystem. We had a whole series about this, and to be honest, it could be seen everywhere. I mean, it is a scary thought, man. It's just crazy because, like, Texas, a place that can be so hot. How can it get so cold this time again? It's to do with the Arctic winds and whatever. But, like, why isn't the UK hit with these kinds of winds as well? Is it because overland winds sort of go quicker and it carries, like, the snow easier? I guess that's the case. But, like, obviously, the UK is higher up than Texas. And Texas gets a lot warmer than the UK, but also a lot colder. It's an interesting one. I want to see, though, how cold Texas get in winter. I want to see. So this is actually beyond how cold it actually gets here. January is generally the coldest month of the year in Texas, as the average low temperatures in a few places drop below freezing. Nights are cold in the arid west, where they plummet even below 5 degrees Celsius, minus 5 degrees Celsius, when the day temperatures are above 12 degrees Celsius. So it gets to 5 degrees Celsius at night, but these winds were causing it to be at certain places minus 16 degrees Celsius. Oh my days! That is ridiculous. How cold does the UK get? I want to just see, like, the average. I don't know why. I should probably know this, but, like, with the sun rising at about 7 a.m. just around 4 p.m. temperatures during these months often range between 0 to 7 degrees Celsius, and although sunny days are possible, they will be cold. Like, it's sunny today. That's the thing, like, it feels cold. I can't imagine how cold this actually gets. I want to actually see coldest winter in UK. 1962, 1963, then there's a big freeze of 63. It was one of the coldest winters defined as the months of December, January, February on record. The record lowest temperature in the UK was minus 27 degrees Celsius. Oh my god. Luckily this is in Scotland, so Scotland will get the colder days, a lot colder days than we do here, but fucking hell, I didn't realise it gets that cold, even in the UK. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Again, a bit of a different one. If you are from Texas, let me know how you're doing, because obviously it's a disaster to say the least, but hopefully you're all staying safe and your families are doing well, because I know some of the stories behind it are, like, genuinely devastating. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this, and until next time, like, subscribe, peace.